What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Rock Your Brand podcast. Today, we are going to be diving into good old-fashioned product research, but we're going to be doing it a little bit differently because things have changed. Well, Etsy has changed. We all know that. But the tool that I've been using over the last 3 years has changed significantly. And it's actually faster and it's easier to navigate and to really sift through and find those hidden products or even those hidden niches. And that's what we're going to be talking about here today. So we're going to do this in a few different parts. The very first part that we're going to do, though, is we're going to We're going to dive into the dashboard and we are going to drill in, and I'm going to share with you how we can drill into a niche, but then also how we can start to see what products are rising to the top. And I'm also going to share with you a little trick, little trick that I've been using that allows me to find products and niches that, they're easier to get into because of this one thing. All right. This one thing that I'm going to share with you. All right. So with that being said, Chris Schaefer is here with us today, but he's in a different location. He's actually in his parents' house. So Chris, why don't you jump in here and get into the room there? There he is.
Yeah. Scott, welcome to my childhood bedroom. It's changed slightly since the last time that I was here, but the important stuff is still here, like the bed and the desk and some of those kinds of things. So yeah.
Yeah, no, you're here or there, I should say, and you might be here in a week or so, or less than a week.
Yeah.
So we'll figure that out, but that'll be interesting and that'll be fun. And hopefully you'll have better weather, because today it's not really good out here. It's raining like crazy.
It is here too, man. Dude, I have not seen the sun since I've come to the United States. Like it's just gray. And it does the sun ever rise in the north? Like you're a native New Yorker. From like October on, does the sun actually come up? Because
maybe where
it comes to like here, and then just goes back down at like 3:30, 4 o'clock.
We had a good sunny day day before yesterday, and really we've had several weeks, great foliage, everything. But anyway, that's not why we're here today. We're here to talk about finding these products for 2025, and I think it's really important, though, that we start to understand that things have changed, things have shifted. We've been talking about this for a long time, though, as far as like building a brand, creating multiple products, all of that stuff, which we're going to go into deeper later. But what I wanted to do is let's just dive in here so we're not wasting any time. And let me just go ahead and share my screen and let's get on into it here. So right here, we are inside of the Everbee app. Okay. So before, if you remember, if you're a, old schooler like me, when it comes to the Etsy game, when you would load up a page on Etsy, which you still can do, you have a Chrome browser, and then you'll see, and Chris, maybe afterwards you can pull that one up, maybe just pull up Etsy, and then you'll see the skin over top of it. We can show like how you can kind of see some numbers if you're just on Etsy and you're doing some research there. I actually prefer this here. Myself personally, because number one, I don't have to deal with all of the Etsy stuff that's going on, right? Like, oh, there's a slide in, there's a sale going, or, I'm seeing all of the different ads and all of that stuff. I don't have to bother with any of that stuff. What I'm really doing here is I'm just sifting through the data, right? That's all that I'm doing. And this new shop analyzer, they just added this here recently. This has been really good. And if you're just getting started and you want to find a niche, or if you want to explore a niche, this is definitely very, very helpful. And I'm going to give you a few examples on how I would drill into this, whether it's for the niche that we're currently in, or if it's going to be for new niches that we want to either bolt on, or if we're just starting from scratch. All right. So let me get started here. I'm going to get on over here to the screen that I'm in. Trying to navigate here. So this is everything. Like this is everything in Etsy right now that's been pulled in. And you can see quickly analyze all products in a shop and find top sellers. All right. So this is the new shop analyzer, which, by the way, Chris, we didn't mention this. If you guys want to give this a shot, the new web app and really the Chrome extension, just go to brandcreators.com/Everbee. Again, that's brandcreators.com/Everbee. Yes, you would buy us a cup of coffee. We are an affiliate for them, but we've been using them almost since day one. And that's the only tool that we use. We even use them for our email marketing side of things because they have that too. But today we're just going to be talking about the product research side and the niche research. All right. So this is giving us all the numbers. Now, the cool thing is if I kind of scroll to the right here, you can see a lot of the other information, right? We can see how old the shop is. This shop is 121 months old. It's been on there a while, right? And you can see the total revenue, monthly revenue, all of this stuff like this. And this is millions, by the way, guys, this is millions. Total sales, 3 million sales. So these stores have been around a little while. All right. Now, the cool thing that I can do though, if I want to, is they've got these here. I can customize, I can filter, and I can export some stuff. If I go into filters right now, you're going to see this little drop down, right? Let me scroll over here. So here, this is like your max revenue. And then we have shop age, we have shop reviews. What if I just wanted to go in here? This is one thing that I like to do and say, okay, for the shop age, I only want to see shops that are 18 months old. That's it. And then boom, it's going to automatically give me all of those shops. All right.
So Scott, why would you do that?
Great question. And I know that you're setting me up. So thank you, Chris, for that. Yeah. So the reason why we're doing this is because instead of looking at a shop that's been around for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, we want to look at something that's somewhat new. And 18 months, and if you're just starting on Etsy or if you're trying to rebrand or pivot or anything, you got to give it some time. Like 12 to 18 months is generally a good rule of thumb. But what I'm doing here is I'm trying to filter out some of those other shops that just have history. And I'm trying to see what is done good in the last 18 months. And I can do this for 12 months. I can do it for 6 months. I can do all of that. So this is giving me not a listing. This is the actual shop age, right? And so we're looking at these right now. So we can look over here and go, okay. And now once again, though, this is like random niches. Like this is just all of the niches coming into one. Okay. And we're going to show you in a minute here. We can search per niche that we want to look into. So with that being said, let's just kind of play around here. So if I wanted to sort this by total, which it looks like it's already doing, but sometimes it doesn't, I would click on here. Obviously that's 0. And then I would go here and then this gives me them in chronological order, right? So Peach Custom Shirts, Goldie Mox Studio, New Tea Apparel, Pretty Tees, Berry Littles. Okay. So these are all the ones that I sorted in chronological order for total revenue. Then I can do total sales. I can do monthly sales, which you can see here, monthly sales changes, right? So even though, this one here is the top, it's gotten 3,900 sales. This here has more sales, but this one made more or generated more, I should say, right? They might sell a more expensive product to get there. Or actually they might, because let's see, they have less monthly sales. They're here. This has more. So it kind of coincides. Monthly revenue here. So, and again, we can sort by these numbers if we want to. We can also filter. We can say we only want to see shops that are, let's see here, maybe their monthly sales. I want to make sure that they have, I don't know, let's say 1,000 monthly sales. And it's going to automatically sort. Let me go back here now for here now. Okay. So it's going to start here at 1,000. Now that's max. I didn't give it a minimum. Maybe let's say that's, I wouldn't want to go by max. I'd want to go by minimum. Let me say minimum. Let's go 1,000 minimum. Now here we go. Right. So now this is showing me, okay, this has had 1,000 minimum sales. I don't want to see anything that's got, 50 sales or 500 sales. I want to see 1,000 plus. So you can play around with this. You can do monthly revenue here. Again, total sales. I can have it say, okay, the shop name, I want it to include wedding. And then I would put in here wedding. And then it's going to automatically do that. So here we are, wedding gift towels. That came up, bedwedding art. Okay. Or bedwedding.
Bedwedding. I don't think that's the niche.
That's a different niche, Chris.
It's a very different niche. At least we hope it is.
That's fantastic. Wedding art is what we were talking about there. You can see we can do that for just about anything. We can go garden and see if anything comes up. Yep. Garden hoe market. Mommy and me garden, I think it is, right? So we can play around with this. So super, super powerful, right, to be able to do this. Now, the filters have always been there. The shop analyzer wasn't, which is really, really awesome that they allow us to do that. So with that being said, Chris, is there anything I'm leaving out here before we get into a little bit more granular looking at certain niches, and then we can start looking at products?
Yeah, I think even before you get into filters, if you have an idea of a niche, Scott, that search at the very top will allow you to kind of drill into that as well. Now, I believe, and unless this has changed since I was playing around with it a few weeks ago, that will do the same thing as filtering by the shop name, because we're looking at the shop level. So if we type in garden up there, it will automatically do that filter for us, and it will only find things that have that, and it'll allow us to find specific shops, or we can do the entire niche that has something like garden in the name. Right. And so one of the things that's cool with that, if you go back up to the top, it'll give you some auto suggestions for shop names. And it will tell you when it started. It doesn't give you the sales or anything like that at that generic search level, but it does give you a pretty good idea of some of the top shops in that space from an auto suggest standpoint, which is always an interesting place to start. But if you have a little bit more of an idea, or you want to layer some of those things on there, which I think is where most people miss out, they miss out on that filters feature, and they just look at everything. And that's fine. There's nothing inherently wrong with that.
Right.
The nice thing about the filters is we can eliminate 3/4 of the work by saying, I don't want to look at a shop that has one sale and is brand new. That's irrelevant to me if I'm trying to evaluate a niche. And so if you're using the filters here, which most people don't, I would be curious to get the data from Everbee about how many people are using that. But it's a feature that people sleep on, and they end up having to do a heck of a lot more work than they otherwise would need to.
Yeah, I'm curious too. In the comments, let us know if you're using Everbee right now. Are you using the filters? Let us know in the comments. I'd like to know. Chris would like to know, because I think it's an underutilized feature in there. And the filters have been there a while, but they haven't been used. The shop analyzer, completely different. All right. But I think this is really good too. Like you said, Chris, like if we said, okay, let's do wedding for the auto suggest, and let's see what it says. Okay. So this shop was started in 2023, 2024, 2017, 2021, 2021. So I could literally click on that and it'll take me to the shop data for that. Right. Or I can just go, let me just get all the wedding stuff in there. Right. And I'm not filtering anything down. So this is like, I can go here and sort for total revenue, which it looks like it's already doing. Or I can go monthly sales, which will change. So let me go here and go back. Okay. So we have all of these. Okay. And then we can go, okay, well, now that we're in wedding, let's go ahead and say, we want to see, let's see here. Let's just say that we want to look at a shop that's only 18 months old. Boom. There we go. Okay. And there's that wedding gift towels and the bee wedding art. All right. So there they are, right? They're in there. Okay. But there's also other ones, right? This is only 4 months old. Okay. Wedding beach towel, right? Now, one thing I want to throw this out here, like someone that is coming in here and they're like, okay, I want to start a wedding shop, and I'm going to do it all about gift towels, or I'm going to do it all about beach towels, right? I would say you'd be better off to be more, you're all about wedding, right? That's your overarching niche. But then you're like, oh, someone's got a shop that's doing pretty well with wedding beach towels. Let's offer wedding beach towels. Oh, and let's maybe we'll offer wedding gift towels like the ones that you would have that you would put into your kitchen, right? This completely different one. Okay, now we're getting product ideas just from the shop names.
I think this is an interesting phenomenon, I think is the word that I'm looking for. People think, and Scott, you and I are fans of having niche-related keywords in the shop title. I will tell you that is not going to make the difference by calling, you're not going to rank number 1 for wedding towels just because you have that in the shop name, right? And the only thing that really does is it ends up limiting you long-term, because if somebody comes to wedding beach towels and you start selling wedding pajamas, that can feel weird to people. So to your point, I think it makes a lot more sense to start to look at a more generic name that still has the keywords in it for the niche, like Scott's Awesome Wedding Emporium or something like that, right? Etsy's still going to understand what your listings are about. Etsy's SEO algorithm is not something that happens because of the shop name. It has much more to do with individual listings. Where the shop name comes in handy is the repeat customers, or the people who do make it to your shop. that's where things start to really play. And so if we limit ourselves in the shop name because we're trying to rank for a very specific keyword, that can actually backfire long term. Yeah. Kristen in the comments, Scott, was saying, is there a way to filter by shops that don't use ads so I can see organic sales data? What are your thoughts on even trying to do that? There's not a filter for that. And the answer is, or the question is, does that matter? Is that something we should take into consideration, or is a sale a sale a sale?
No, I personally think a sale's a sale. Like, to me, I'm just looking at demand. That's all I'm looking for. I don't care how the demand came. It's happening on Etsy. It's not like that traffic was over on Facebook and someone drove traffic. Now, they could, but I would be willing to bet 98% of people are not driving external traffic from Facebook unless it's like an organic post or they have a little bit of a following. But most people are getting most of their traffic from the Etsy platform. And yes, you can argue and say, well, some people are probably getting it from Google ads because Etsy's advertising that. That's part of the Etsy ads tool feature, right? Built in, right? So yes, they are, but it's still an Etsy ad. So no, to me, I'm just looking at like how many people actually bought this thing on Etsy. Like, well, and I think yes, we have to do that marketing maybe with Etsy ads. That's part of it. You and I've talked about that a lot, right?
I think there's two different things people would have concerns with. And I'm assuming what Kristen is talking about are the pay-per-click ads within the Etsy ecosystem. Yeah. You brought up something, you said external traffic. And if we only see one shop here that is doing well, that may be a concern. But if we see 10, 20, 30, 40 that are doing well, that's not something that we need to take into consideration. And to your point, whether they're getting that click from ads or from organic, consumers don't really know the difference between an Etsy ad and an organic Etsy listing. So from that perspective, demand is demand is demand. No one really understands the difference on the consumer side. Even though Etsy puts ad on it, no one knows that that's an ad except for sellers who have run ads and are looking for that. So that demand is what we are looking for. The question then becomes, do we need to run ads to stay competitive? And the answer to that is you should be running ads anyway, as long as they're working, right? Yeah. So I would not worry about that at this stage, unless there's one standout. And you and I talked about a shop in the past. I believe they sell woodworking templates, and there's not a lot of demand within the Etsy ecosystem, but they still do really well. And they would show up somewhere like here because they have a lot of organic sales. Now, that traffic is coming from outside of Etsy. That traffic actually comes from their YouTube channel in a lot of cases. And so even if we did layer on a filter of not using Etsy ads, which isn't an option now, at least as far as I'm aware, Cody, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but even if we did that, that shop would still show up, right? So what we're looking for here is not, is somebody running ads or not? What are they doing? At this stage, we're just looking to see that there's multiple shops that have the demand. The logical follow-up that I know we're going to get to that, Scott, is how do we determine what demand is in a specific niche? And is there a way to easily do that using something like the new Shop Analyzer tool?
Well, yeah. And I think that this is exactly what demand is, right? Like, or finding the demand. Like, we want to look here and see total revenue, monthly sales, like monthly revenue, but we really care about like total sales tells us that's how many transactions happened. That's the big one, right? Yes, we want to know revenue. Yes, we want, because that stuff's important. But really, right now, we're talking about how many times has something been purchased? What is the demand level for that? And it's going to be different for everyone. Chris, you and I have talked about this probably a dozen times. It's like you have to understand, what is your target? How many do you need to sell at a certain price point to make a certain amount profit that's going to get you to your goal, right? So if you're like, well, I just want to make $1,000 a month. Well, then you don't need as many sales as someone that wants to make $5,000 or $10,000. And also then you're looking at the profit margin. Is the product making $10 per sale? Or is it making $50 per sale? Well, you got to sell less to hit your number, right? So there's a lot of variables there. This to me is really just about this here, this column, total sales, that's total transactions that has happened. Now, one thing that is, happening right here, because I set this to where the age of this shop, that means that these sales that we're looking at are within the last 18 months. If I pull this filter off and say, well, I don't care, give me everybody, right? Then we're going to be able to go, oh, let's see here. Let me go to this side. Okay, now we're looking at this could be for 10 years, right? And then we can go, okay, total sales. Let's go here. Oops, one more time. There we are. So 660,000 from this one. We got 353 from this one, 321. So we can add all these up and go, that's the demand, right? For lifetime demand, right? but we're like, well, wait a minute. Let's just go ahead and see, let's go ahead and see here. If I put in max age 12 months and let's see what we get. We're like, okay, cool. And let me go and make sure that we sort this. So we have 488 monthly sales here, but let me go over here. This is total sales. So this is your total sales for a year. Okay. For a shop that's only a year old. That doesn't mean it's across the entire. We've segmented it down to say the shops that have opened in the last 12 months, this is the demand that they got right here. And I'd say that's pretty good demand. If we look at this all the way down, right? You add all them up, you're like, okay, there's demand. Now, these are all different products, they're not all the same products. So then we'd have to do the research to go, okay, what products are they selling? And that's where we'd start to really, drill in. But the one thing I was saying, Chris, in the beginning, and I was kind of alluding to, like, that one thing that a lot of people don't do. Number one, they don't use the filters, but in the filters, it's this little column, shop age and listing age. So when we get into the listing reviews, we can go, okay, how old is this listing now? Right. And we can kind of start playing around with that. So what I'd like to do, let's go to 18 months. Cause I want to see that. And I want to look at this one, the wedding gift towels. They are actually, let's see here. I'm scrolling across. How old is their shop right now? It is 18 months. So it's right on the edge. It's right at the max. So if we click in now, and then I got to share this tab with you. There we are. Can you see that, Chris?
I can.
Okay. So now, and this is, Chris, I know you love this. Your eyes are just glowing with like, oh my gosh, look at all this data that we can plow through. What do you like most about this?
There's a couple things. One, it gives us a nice snapshot of the shop. But the real thing I would be looking at is the next section down, because we already have an idea of what their monthly sales and the monthly revenue are. But the first thing I would be looking at here are the shop stats and also the price breakdown, because I think this is something that's important. We can backwards engineer, okay, here's the average price point that they're selling something. But knowing the most expensive thing and the least expensive thing in a shop is really interesting to me, because it tells me where that average actually is weighted, right? So if we're selling a bunch of things at $105, but the vast majority of our sales are $5, or our listings are $5, that makes a difference in terms of overall profitability. So that price breakdown section, I think, is really interesting. And what Everbee is telling us is that average price of a listing in the shop is $23. That's kind of right in that sweet spot, right? We have some things that are 5 to 16, and it looks like the majority of their listings are under 27, but they do have a big chunk of things that are 27 to that 105 mark, which is that top end of what we see in this shop. But the other thing is the shop stats, right? Because what we're looking at here is not just the total revenue or the average price, but the review ratio. So how many people are reviewing the products and how many listings they have. And I think this is a place where people, again, are missing out on data, kind of like the filters. If we saw this shop, Scott, and they had this same number of sales, but they had 2,600 listings, so 2,600 listings, would you still consider this to be a good example? I probably would not, right? Because it means they're listing a bunch of stuff that isn't selling. And that's where this last column and row, the sales per listing, I think is a really interesting stat that a lot of people don't know exists, because it's part of the new experience. And so what they're saying is they average 50 sales per listing, which is really interesting to me. If that number is 5, it means they're listing a lot of stuff that isn't selling or isn't selling very well. Now, obviously, they don't know every individual sale, and they're not saying everything has sold at least 5. They're saying this is the average. And the higher that average is, the better job they did of really nailing something that consumers are already looking for. They're not listing a bunch of stuff that isn't being bought. They're listing things that people are looking for. So the higher that number is, the better indication that they're doing the correct thing from a product perspective. Again, we haven't even gotten to the product research side of this yet.
Right.
But if I have 2 or 3 examples that I'm starting to look at, I see one that's 5, one that's 50, and one that's 500. You better believe that I'm going to start with the shop that has 500 sales per listing, just to see what it is that they're doing, because it means they've really nailed it. 50 is really good.
Yeah.
Again, if we saw 5, I probably would put that one to the side just to say, hey, maybe they're doing some things, or maybe they just launched a bunch of products. But let me start with the better examples, that 50 and the 500 sales per listing.
Yeah. And if we look here, I mean, they give you, like you said, Chris, this is like a great snapshot of everything, but it gives you a lot of data, like real quick to look at, like monthly sales, monthly revenue, total sales up here, average, your reviews, the shop when it started. Again, that we know that this is 18 months because that's how we found it. We searched for only 18 months. So yeah, there's a lot of great info here. So if we go into the listings now, okay, this is where, like you were saying, Chris, now we can really start to explore and see what kind of rises to the top, right? And so we're looking at this. This is a personalized beach towel, it looks like. Okay. Personalized beach towel gift, bridesmaid gifts, bachelorette party favor, wedding gifts, bridesmaid gifts. Okay. Now, that's only $7, which is really low. Okay. One thing we've always talked about, and I don't know how they're selling it for $7. And maybe if we clicked in and we saw like maybe there's options for different sizes and all of that stuff. But the bottom line is they're generating 717 sales. Chris, what does 717 people coming to a listing, what does that give people the opportunity for?
Well, first of all, I'm sitting in the 717 right now, so this was a good random example that you pulled. But I think it tells me that they're doing a good job. And I would agree with you, Scott. $7, that they're probably pulling the trick of like a tea towel or a napkin washcloth type of a thing at $7. And that's not what they're actually selling it for. That's just the lowest price that Everbee was able to pull off of this listing. But if we're seeing 717 monthly sales, means that listing is selling a ton every single month. And the question then becomes, what is their conversion rate? What does the traffic look like to get there? And Dana in the comments asked, you guys were talking about sales per listing, which again is what we're talking about here. Is that something that Etsy uses in the algorithm? The answer is not directly, but if you're listing things that are selling well, they're going to rank where, Scott? Not lower, higher. The more you sell, the higher your conversion rate, the better you are going to rank, because the goal of the Etsy algorithm, just like any algorithm, is to put the thing in front of the person that they're actually going to want. In the case of Etsy, it's the product that they're going to end up buying. And so the higher that sales per listing is, the higher the sales on the individual listing, the better off we are going to be, using that as an example. Now, the thing I would want to see here, Scott, is what is that conversion rate compared to some of the other things? What does the traffic on that listing look like? And we can dive into that individual thing and into that individual listing here in a minute and take a look. But we know, let's say that next one down was also a beach towel of some sort. I would be looking at the one that sells 717 before I'd be looking at the one that sells 395, unless there was a compelling reason, like the one that sells 395 is a brand new listing and it has a double conversion rate or something like that, right? They're selling at 10% instead of 5%, something like that.
Yeah. No, it's a great point. And so, and if you notice here, like they are just selling basically towels, which they have an opportunity to do other things, but they're selling multiple towels because it's generally going to be for a wedding party, right? Or a bachelorette party or just bridesmaids, right? Like, so they're going off of like, there's going to be maybe 4, there's going to be maybe 8, right? And they're going to sell a bunch of those. But to your point, Chris, like you said, like this $7, I guarantee they're not selling them for $7. That's just what's being pulled in as like the front, right? And the other thing that this is doing that we don't see here is like, okay, they sold, 40 in a month of this one for $45. Well, who's to say that someone didn't come in from this listing and buy this, but then they also maybe bought this or this or this, because now maybe they have the bundle feature, right? That's on there. That's why we talk about why you want products that could be sold together. Okay. Now this is a little bit of like the same type of product, but if they had a towel and then they also sold something else that the ladies could wear, right? And we had another example before where a company was selling robes for the bridesmaids, and then they sold slippers, or they sold, the hair thing, like something that could be sold with it. And then once they get into the listing, they see those as other options. Moving forward in 2025, if I was starting over, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for, how can we increase the value of the order? How can we increase that? Like, that's huge. So yeah. And the other thing we can do here, Chris, too, is if we wanted to filter their results, we can go into filters and go, hey, we just want to see, let's see, listings that have, listing age of only 6 months old. And then we can go, okay, that one there was done 6 months ago, right? So this shop is not that old, 18 months. And this listing was created 6 months ago, and it's one of their top, right? So brand new shop, kind of, right? It's under 2 years old. It's not like well seasoned, and they've got some great momentum, and they've launched a product in the last 6 months that's done really, really well. So we can sort by that. We can sort by all kinds of things in here, as you can see. So I'm going to take that filter off right now. If we want to get rid of that filter, we can just toggle that up, I believe. But we don't need to. We're going to leave it. Okay, let me go into this one real quick. And so now, as you see, this is the other cool thing, is it pops it right in there. I don't have to go over to the listing, which I can go over to the listing. But if we look at this now we get a little bit more at a glance once again, right? So we have 717. Here's your review to ratio, your conversion rate, 6.34%, Chris. That's what you were looking for. 67,812 views, 533 reviews, favorited 2,281 times. That's important too, because you can see that people are buying it, but they're also, a lot of people are favoriting it. So there's a lot that we can see here. You can see, okay, the trends. Now this is new too. They have this in beta. This is in the Everbee app. And by the way, if you guys are just joining us, the Everbee app is what we're using. If you want to try this, we are an affiliate for it. You will buy us a cup of coffee. We're just transparent about that, but we use the tool every single day. If you want to try it, go to brandcreators.com/Everbee. Once again, that's brandcreators.com/Everbee. And you can give it a shot, and you can get access to all of this data, which is so valuable. The other thing they give you is the tags at a glance here, which is somewhat new. And then they show you the volume, they show you the competition, and all of that. We even have more details down here. The listing type, all of the things that the listing is basically on the back end is what's put in there. So a lot of great information here. And then this is really cool too, Chris. This is the sales over, the last 30 days. It's showing you like what it is. Now, one thing, if I wanted to, I could go in here and change the date, right? So I could go, oh, let's go in here. I believe I can. I might need to open that up. Maybe I have to open that up and that'll do it. I don't know. I haven't played around with that. It is in beta. So maybe that's something that they're going to be doing. And right now they're just giving you the last 30, but I'm pretty sure you'll be able to go in here and then sort, okay, I want to see what it was for the last 12 months. And then you'll be able to see month by month, which I think would be very, very cool. Okay, cool. So anything else there, Chris, that we want to look at? You can go into the shop details here. Anything else, Chris?
I think the biggest thing is just understanding what the traffic and conversion rate looks like once we get to this point, right? And we had somebody in the comments, Scott, asking, where are they getting this data from? Etsy doesn't share the sales data. And the answer is, it's based on their algorithm, right? They know the traffic. They know a lot of things about the listing, and you can backwards engineer that. Is the sales data 100% accurate? No, but it's pretty darn close. And we found in our experience that it's closer than anybody else's is, which is why we use Everbee. But the real reason you're using something like this is not because you're saying, hey, they're making exactly 395 sales a month. You're looking at this for directionality, right? Mm-hmm. And so what we're looking for here are products that are selling well over time, products that are being reviewed well over time, and products that have a high conversion rate. We know, generally speaking, 1% to 5% is considered the industry average. So if we're seeing something, and I think that was like 6.34, something like that, Scott.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
That listing is massively outperforming. And we have a pretty good idea of what sales are. We have a good idea of what traffic is, and we can backwards engineer that conversion rate. For above that 5% mark, it's a great listing to be looking at.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I'm looking at right now, guys, I'm in the reviews section, and we talked about this last week, which is really powerful. So out of 1,855 reviews, there are 4. And right here, it's pulling in, like, these are the newest ones. So I'm looking and seeing what people are saying about the products. And this is something that we could get some intel about. We could say, oh, how can we make this product better? Like, what could we do better? So we might want to go in here and go, oh, let's look at the negative reviews. Right. And then I can immediately see here, I was disappointed in the product I received. I ordered 2 tea towels as gifts. The last name on the towel was not even close, blah, blah, blah. Right. So for some reason, they must have messed up their personalization, and now they left a negative review. That could have probably been handled before they left the review. Here's another one. Looks like the same person. The blanket came with some sewing errors and gaps in the fabric. I was able to fix myself, right? So that's quality. That's a quality issue. I was so disappointed. I ordered this Christmas present. The stitching is awful. So again, stitching, make sure our stitching is better, right? So we can learn from what people are saying that that wasn't good. And I can go to oldest. I can look and see. Okay. So there's a lot that you can do with the reviews filter, which I think is really cool as well. So that's kind of like a high level overview. Like if I'm going to be looking at finding products to sell in 2025, I'm probably going to start here. I'm not even going to go over to Etsy. I'm not going to, type in my stuff over there, get the results. I'm going to go right here and just get everything collected into one group. And then I'm going to start sifting using those filters. That's what I'm going to be doing.
So what exactly are you looking for here? Let's assume, because we're using the wedding niche as an example here, that you're thinking about starting a store or just looking for products in the wedding niche. Is it just that one product that you're looking for, or are you looking for trends? Like if somebody's sitting down to do this, what is it that you're looking for exactly?
It's probably going to be a little bit of, you're trying to see like, okay, number one, is there demand? Okay. For if and this goes for if you're like exploring the niche. If you're exploring the niche, we have to see if there's enough demand. We've said here, if we're using the wedding niche as an example, we're like, yes, obviously there is. But now how do I get into the niche? Right. So then I'm going to start seeing like, okay, what products are selling? What ones have been sold in the last 6 months, 10 months, that are not really aged. Same thing with the shop age, right? So I'm doing that as a competitive research part. Like how competitive is it that I would be able to get in here? From there, I'm going to start to see what products are being sold. Now, not just by one shop, I'm going to be looking at other shops, right? I'm not just going to be looking at this one shop. So again, if I wanted to say, okay, I want to look at another wedding store, because I'm going to just take the next one down on the list that's doing well. And they're not selling towels, they're selling candles. Right. And then I'm going to say, well, I'm going to have maybe a towel. I'm going to have a candle. Right. And then with that candle, I might have maybe 5 different variations of that candle. Okay. And then from there, I might be like, oh, bridesmaids. Someone is selling shirts for bridesmaids with, something, that represents their personality. Right. And I'm going to do those next. Right. So I'm trying to find products that are in here, not just from one shop, but from multiple shops that I can build a product line. That's what I'm trying to do. And I would say if you're just starting, or even if you're not starting and you're just trying to start down the road of building out a brand with multiple products, I would do this and I would try to come up with 3 to 5 products, because the 3 products are going to be great because you can bundle them together. And that's a great way to increase the order value, the order size. So hopefully that answered your question on that, Chris.
Yeah, realistically, what you're looking for here, Scott, are 3 to 5 products that would go well together. And the reason for that is twofold. One, we want people to be able to buy multiple things or come back again and again.
Yeah.
And 2, Etsy's bundle feature allows us to increase our average order size, our average cart value, and present those products to the same person, especially with something like this, where you're saying, okay, it's a wedding gift or a bridesmaid's gift or something like that. Mm-hmm. Instead of buying one $7 towel, I'm going to put together a really cool bundle for all of the people in my bridal party or all of my groomsmen and have them have a few different personalized things. If they're already in that buying mode and all of the products go together, it becomes a lot easier to do. And so if we see one here, like the personalized beach towels that's selling $717 a month, that's cool. And that's a nice little product idea for us to jot down. But when we're doing the niche validation and when we're doing product research itself, we want to see multiple things in that same niche that are having success that would go well together, right? Maybe not personalized beach towels for a wedding or personalized beach towels for a bachelorette party and second anniversary gifts, right? Those 2 things, yes, would both fall under the wedding niche, but it's not something people would purchase together. And while those are both valid products and it's good signs and it's a good thing to see, it's not what we're looking for when we're doing the actual product research. What we want to see are things that are going to sell well together.
Yeah, for sure. Let me show one more quick example. I'm going to pull up the baby niche because that's another big one, right? So if we're in here, okay, and I just in the little search thing here, we've got baby. And then here, like you said, Chris, at a glance, we have all these, right? But I'm going to go and say, I just want all the ones in baby. Okay. And then from here, I'm going to look here at shop age. Now you can see I already put this in here before I got on with everybody. But if we go here and just clear that out, it's going to give me all of the shops. Look at this is 175 months. So let me just go and I'm going to sort by the oldest, 224 months. Ugly baby. Funny. So, you can look at all of this. Now, some of these aren't getting any revenue because right now we're searching by this shop age. That's why what we want to do is we want to go something that has numbers. I'm going to go total sales, right? So if I go total sales, we got baby squishy cheeks. Okay. But if we look over here, it's 140 months old. So you might go, yeah, that's great, but I can't compete in this space. Well, we're not using this as, am I going to compete directly with them? I'm looking at this like that there's some demand here, right? But then I want to go, okay, let's look at a little bit more current and let's see if I can break into this niche. So that's why I would say, let's go 18 months. So I go 18 months and then I get this, right? And so now this here, baby staffers, I guess, I don't know. 26,374 sales, 495,000 in total revenue, 1,785 monthly sales, monthly revenue, right? So I'm like, that one there is 18 months old. Actually, let's see what the actual age is. Did I pass it? Yeah, it's exactly 18 months. This is 17 months. So this one here is 17 months and it's done 129,000, 10,000 monthly, 13,843 in total sales. And we've got this one, 210,000. So again, you see, this has more sales. This has more revenue, probably more expensive products, or well, they have less sales too. So now if I search by or sort by revenue, now we're going in a revenue category, right? So this is 2, this is 3, My Corner Baby, Happy Baby Print, Love You Baby, CA, Gina Baby Gift Shop. So you can just keep going down the list, but these are all sorted 18 months or less. Okay. So now if I said, okay, well, let's dive into this one right here. So now I'm going to dive into that one and I have to go and actually switch it over here to this tab. 26,374 sales. And then we're looking at the overall, look at $500,000 this shop has generated total, right? Average price, $19. So 19, most expensive, least expensive. So they don't have anything at a high ticket really. But again, the $7, they're probably not selling that for $7. Okay. Sales per listing, right about what that other one was, Chris, 51. Right. So this is all good. Now let's look at their listings real quick. Okay. And then once again, we can sort by different things if we want to. Let's go. And I'm curious, listing age, 15 months, 18 months, 10 months, right? So these are all, again, within 18 months because the shop is only 18 months old. Okay. Now, if I hover over here, you can take a quick peek at this. So this says handmade rolls. That's cute. Okay. It's a cute little saying. And it's doing well. So it says $20. I bet it sells for more because they're going to have other options that you add on. Okay. But still, I'm looking at this. This is just one individual shop that's 18 months old. Demand. Is there demand? Heck yeah. You know what I mean? Like there's floods of demand. Okay. And let's see here. We've got multiple shirts here. Looks like a football theme of some kind. Right. So then if I want to go in here and I can go, okay, let's click in now. Let's get a little data on this. And let's see. It's converting at 2.44%. Not bad. Right? Not bad for having all that traffic. Okay. 189,000 views. There's your monthly. There's the age of the listing is 15 months. Okay. Visibility score. Then here we're looking at the trend over time, right? So November did a little better and probably because of, Thanksgiving and things, right? And then you can look down here, chunky baby shirt. Funny. So this gives you ideas also of like, okay, what are people searching for that I would want to put into my, my title and into my tags and things like that. Right. So we get all this information at our fingertips. So I think there's another really, really great. Now this says Thanksgiving. So you might be like, well, it's just for Thanksgiving. I would argue that I think, the color makes it feel like Thanksgiving, but I think handmade rolls could be any time of the year personally. What's this one here? Guess what? Okay. Guess what? Chicken butt baby romper. So that's funny. So if we click on that, we can go into this one. This one's converting at 2.3%. And then we can go down here and we can go, okay, let's look at the tags. Guess what? Chicken butt. Guess what? Baby shower gift, farm baby, funny baby clothes. So it's giving me ideas here, all within just doing what I just did. And this is just one product. So it's funny because this shop isn't really selling on designs. They're selling on cute sayings. And so if you're thinking you got to be a great designer, I would argue and say, if you were a clever, like come up with like funny or really cute sayings and you're in the baby niche, you probably can do really well because it's unique. Yes, people can rip you off, but again, you might have your own style of font. You might have your own style just to begin with, right? So I would be looking at this going like, okay, cool. Let me kind of play off of some of these ideas. Yes, we're going to sell rompers. Yes, we're going to sell t-shirts. Yes, we're going to sell sweatshirts. We might even do a blanket for the nursery. We might do some things like that because now we can broaden that, but we're also going to get this intel by looking at the niche of the other shops that have done well in the last 18 months. And we're going to start pulling ideas from everybody. Make sense, Chris?
It does. And no offense to Mrs. Baby Staffas, but this is something I could design, to your point, Scott, right? Like, I am not a designer. I know when something looks good, but I have almost no capacity to make it look good. But I can put a saying on a shirt and a chicken on the butt. And that is something I would be able to do. Now, obviously, I'm not going to steal that directly, but guess what? Chicken butt, right? Like, we could have a turkey themed thing and just make it a little more Thanksgiving, right? Swap the chicken for a turkey, make it a little bit more Thanksgiving-y, I think is the word I'm going to go with, right? And come up with something, stuff like the turkey or something like that, right? And come up with some of my own designs. Again, we're not going to rip these things off directly, but we're going to use these for directionality. And if we find 2 or 3 shops that are doing well with really basic baby rompers and some funny sayings, then all we have to do is come up with the funny sayings. The mistake we see people make here is that they say, oh, okay, this is a funny sayings shop. It's not. It's a baby clothing store or a baby store. And if we're starting with that as the niche, then we can backwards engineer what's working for them and start to come up with our own ideas. We don't want to start with the product or the design. We want to start with the idea. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Here's the one thing I want to say, though. If you guys have noticed, like, we looked at a niche and these shops have done well in a niche and their shop is built for the niche. So I just want to throw that out there because these have done really well. And I believe these will do well, way better than someone selling random stuff in a t-shirt shop, right? Because they're also going to get repeat customers. They're also going to have people say, hey, where did you get that? That's so cute. Oh, I went to whatever the name was, right, of the thing, but it's a wedding shop. It's a baby shop. And their style is these cute sayings with a certain font that they use, right? Like, that's their thing. Okay. And maybe certain colors that they only put their stuff on. It's not going to be just all kinds of colors. It's going to be maybe 4 primary colors that they use, or they're going to use trending colors. Like, maybe that's their thing. Okay. But what we just shared with you is proof that if you focus on a niche, okay, build a brand of products that people can buy over and over again and increases the order size, you can do very well in 2025 and beyond. And I should probably throw this out here. If you're interested in, we have what we call our 100K roadmap. It's a blueprint that we used doing similar to what they've done, is built a shop out that catered to a niche. If you want a copy of that, just put 100K in the comments, 100K in the comments, and we'll send you a copy of that guide. All right. And it walks you through the different steps that we took to be able to build that out. So you understand a 10,000 foot view, like what it looks like, because once you understand that, you start building a shop that caters to a customer that can come back again and buy more than one thing while they're in there. It's a total game changer. And this is what's going to be, to me and Chris, is going to be what's going to make it work for people in 2025. So if I was to start over today, that's what I'd be doing. All right, Chris, that was good. That was real good. I think so. Let us know in the comments if that was good. Did you guys get a lot of value from that? And if you guys do want to try Everbee, like I said, little shameless plug here, just go to brandcreators.com/Everbee. Once again, that's brandcreators.com/everbee. And you can click on that and you can go over there and sign up. They do have a free trial. And then if you want to get all of the data and you want to upgrade to the growth plan, I recommend you do, because you're going to need that tool. And that tool to me is everything. Like that's all that we use. And it's gotten so robust. So I'm just scratching the surface on what you can do with it. All right. But use those filters. Use those filters. All right, Chris, any quick questions on that before we move on? I've got a couple other things we wanted to touch on here today.
No, I think the biggest thing, and the thing I'm seeing in the comments, is how do we go through this process? So in the past, you and I always said, let's just go to Etsy, type in the niche keywords, see what comes up. I think this approach is better because we can start at the shop level and say, these 3 or 4 shops are doing really well in this niche. Then what are they doing at the listing level? And that actually gives you a little bit of a leg up, because you can start at the niche level and say, this niche works, as opposed to this product, and this product work. How do I turn that into a niche? It's this niche works. What products are leading to those sales? And I think using that new tool, the Shop Analyzer tool, will get you there a lot faster. And it really is a shortcut to this process, because you can say, these are the 3 shops I want to look at. Now let me figure out what they are doing that is leading to their success. And Maisie agrees.
Yeah. Whenever a car goes by and beeps the horn, she's going to do that. All right, cool. Let's move on. I'm going to switch it up, Chris. I'm going to go into the 5 Etsy niches, because I think that will play really well with what we just covered. So here we go. All right. So as we're moving into 2025, the question that people want to know is, what are the niches that are going to thrive? What are the niches that are going to do well in 2025, but more importantly, for a long time? And I want to give you 5 proven niches that have done well 10 years ago, this year, and they're going to keep doing well. All right. And there's just these certain niches, and we can call them actually categories, if you will, because these have stood the test of time. All right. And if you look at one of these and you're like, oh yeah, I can see myself in that niche, because there's a lot of different sub niches within the niche. All right. And that's what I want to share with you here today. So I'm just going to kind of get into it. So the very first one, and it's pretty obvious, this has been talked about, is the wedding niche. And you might be saying, well, okay, Scott, that's great. The wedding niche, there's a lot of opportunity there, but it's so saturated. I don't care. There's a lot of volume there. There's a lot of demand there. All right. And when we have demand, then there's a lot of room for other people to come in. All right. And so what I would do is I would see, okay, where is there an angle for you to start and to get a start in that niche? So let me give you an example. Let's say that you wanted to get into the wedding niche and you maybe like making wood signs, right? Like you're going to make wood signs. Maybe you're a woodworker, or maybe you're going to use print on demand. Let's say that you're going to use print on demand. I'm going to use that right now. If you're going to use print on demand, you still can get wood signs, by the way, but if you're a woodworker, you can do that too. And let's say that you're just going to start with wood signs for weddings, right? That you're going to either have it say, the couple's name, where it's like established. Like I have a cutting board that hangs in my kitchen still, 1994, Scott and Lisa Volker, right? And that was given to us as a gift. I still have it. Okay. But that's just one thing that you could say, okay, we're going to create that for a gift that's going to be given for the occasion. Okay. Now you could also say, all right, what else would someone want to buy maybe as a gift that they would throw in? And then maybe you would say, maybe it's a cheese board, right? That people would put cheese in a cutting little area, right? That they put the cheese and the crackers and the grapes and all of that stuff. And then maybe you have that as well. That's the cutting. It's a cutting board, but it's really not. Or maybe it's something for the wine to go in, right? And then you would create something that the wine would go in, a chiller or something like that, right? And someone would go, oh yeah, cutting board, the wine thing. Sure, we're going to buy them together. So you see how we're taking these, not the entire niche, but we're trying to find a portion of the niche that we can kind of slice off. We could go and say, we're just going to cater to the bridal parties right now, right? bridesmaids, or maybe groomsmen, or maybe both. Okay. So you see where we're going? There's all these different angles that you can start. It doesn't mean that your shop can't sell those other things later, but we have to get really focused on what we're going to try to penetrate the market with. And that would be the angle that I would do. And that's going to go for any of these. Okay. But weddings, people are not going to stop getting married. Everyone's going to keep getting married. It's going to happen. Ain't going to stop. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you think getting married is going to stop. I don't think it is. All right. So that's going to happen for the next 1,000 years. Okay. It's just gonna. All right. What else is going to happen? Well, probably some babies are going to be born. Right. So babies are going to be born. Probably a good niche. Right. It's not going away. Now, are trends going to change within the baby niche? Sure. Colors, styles. Sure. But that's just where you then cater to that. You're not saying, oh, there's a certain design for anybody out there that loves pickles, and we're gonna sell that because it's trending right now. No, but if there's a certain color or a certain style, then yes, you're going to bring that in because you're going to serve that to the baby market or the baby niche now, right? And the same thing goes for babies, right? You have pregnancy, you have newborn, you have nursery, you have christening, you have all of those different things that falls under baby. Okay. So that's number 2. 3, faith, religion, Christianity, all of that ain't going away. Okay. It's going to be here for a long time. Right. And there's going to be all, different types of people. They're going to be like, I'm Catholic. Right. Or, oh, I'm going to be just Christian. I'm just going to just be all about spirituality. Right. Like whatever it is that you're into in that realm, that's going to be here forever, not going anywhere. Okay. So another thing within that would be like, okay, well, you could sell a journal for a teenager that wants to start journaling about God, right? I'm just throwing it out there. Okay. That's something that you might offer because that's you're catering it to a teenager, or maybe a parent's going to buy it for the teenager because now we're not going so broad. Okay. And that's what we need to do in order to get involved in these niches. Okay. But if you build out a whole shop that's for, faith and religion and spirituality, you're going to have a lot of different people that are going to be interested in that. And there's going to be different reasons on why. Okay. So moving on, number 4. So people get married, they have babies, probably have some type of, religion or faith or, spirituality, whatever, right? Probably going to add a pet to the mix, right? So pets is another big one, not going anywhere. People are going to constantly be getting new dogs, new cats, right? New, reptiles. We have someone that's one of our students, Fatty Pancake, give her a little shout out, does reptile stuff. Okay. So pets never going to go away. It's going to be around for a long time. And now you have all of these different opportunities, right? Like, okay, we have pet collars for all different, maybe it's a cat, maybe it's a dog, or maybe it's going to be pet portraits. That's what you're going to do. I know that's very saturated, but if you have a different style, maybe that's something you could tap into. Okay. Or maybe it is, you're only going to start out where you're going to cater to golden retrievers. All right, cool. Go there. Right. And then start building out from there. Right. So there's all different things you have, which is really, a sad occasion, but it's like pet loss. It's another big one. People are going to have pets and people are going to pass, or people too, which is another niche, by the way. But you have, animals are going to pass away. Unfortunately, it's going to happen and it sucks, but people are willing to spend money on that. And you could serve the pet market, pet niche in that way. Right. And then the last one, number 5, which is similar to weddings, but is not 100% weddings, is relationships and love. Okay. And that's going to be couples. Okay. Or it's going to be siblings. Right. And we've done research on this before. People that are, sisters, or, they're buying something because one moved away across the country. And then they have this little sign that has a couple of hearts, your location, my location, but there's a map going to the other and saying like, we're always together. Right. And that's just a small example. So you have that. Right. Or how about Wedding anniversaries. Okay, well, you can say that's under wedding. It could be, but it could just be under relationships, right? It's an occasion. Okay. It's a relationship occasion. Okay. And like I said, love, people get engaged. That could be under weddings, but it could just be under relationships and love. Okay. So all of these different niches aren't going away. Okay. And you could actually throw a sixth one in there and say money, but I don't know if you're going to go on Etsy to look for how to make more money. But that is something that's part of life, right? Like people are getting married, people are having babies, people are practicing their faith, people are getting pets, and people are in relationships leading up to marriage, or maybe they're just in a relationship just as friends, right? And they want to buy something special for their best friend, for their bestie. Okay. But then there's the money thing too, right? That's part of life. Now, not saying that you're going to build something out of that, because I think that might not be that easy to do. And I don't think Etsy's the place for that, but that is another driver that's not going to ever go away. All right. So all of these niches that I just shared with you, they're not going away. And you can pretty much go into any one of those. And you might ask yourself, but how do I get into that? I'm not really sure what I'm into. Ask yourself, what is something that you would enjoy creating for, right? What is something that you would enjoy creating for these people, right? To celebrate a wedding, to celebrate getting a new pet, to me, it's about, yes, we want to serve all kinds of products, but right now you should also be thinking, because that's what Etsy is gearing itself towards, gifting. What could be given as a gift for a wedding, for a baby, for, whether it's, something about Christianity, faith. You could give someone, like I said, a journal to go ahead and journal in while you're in Bible study, like whatever, pets, like all of that. Okay. So hopefully this gives you ideas, and it also allows you to open up your mind to go, okay, even though these are very popular and very saturated, there's plenty of room for any of us to get in there. All right. So pick one. If you're not already started, pick one. All right. And start to do your research. And if you have not yet started to do your research using Everbee, I strongly recommend you do. If you want to check it out, go to brandcreators.com/Everbee. I will leave the link in the description as well. That's the only tool that we use. We have other videos here that actually walk you through how to use it. The other thing is if you're already in a niche, can you add some of this stuff and use these niches for your own niche that you're in right now? For an example, if you are in the wedding niche, you might want to create something that says something for a baby that is maybe it's a flower girl. All right. Or something like that now we can say, okay, we have a baby that is going to have something that is going to serve the baby that's going to be at the wedding. And I use flower girl, I'm going to be a little bit older than a baby, but you still could do that. So you see what I'm saying? We can kind of cross promote these in these different niches. And if you can, that's where I'd be exploring. So Chris, anything you want to add to that?
Scott, you talked about niches that are going to do well over time. And I think one place where people get caught up in this is that they say, okay, weddings are cool and like weddings are going to keep happening, but it's really saturated. And I think this is where people miss the boat, for lack of a better expression.
Yeah.
Right. The question is not, why would I do that niche because it's saturated? The question is, how do I do that niche? And that's where the product research side of this comes in. If we're starting at the niche level, then we can backwards engineer this and say, hey, weddings are popular. Weddings are going to keep happening. What are the shops that are doing in weddings doing well? And what are the standout products or the outliers? What are some shops that are newer that aren't doing, 10 years in the wedding space? How are they becoming successful? And using things like the filters inside of Everbee, saying, hey, what's really popped in the last 12 to 18 months? What are they doing? Is it wedding pajamas? And it's finding that product or a handful of those products, typically 3 to 5, that aren't necessarily the most saturated thing on the planet. Like a wedding planning PDF, maybe not the product that we start with, right?
Yeah.
But we've seen shops pop over and over again, starting with things like wedding pajamas, to say, okay, this is how I get my foot in the door. Then we look at the broader niche and say, okay, what are the other things I can add into this to make it not just 3 to 5, but 30 to 50, 300 to 500 products that are all going to sell well. And once we get our foot in that door, then we can get to the more and more competitive products because we don't need to compete in the Etsy search algorithm. We have those customers coming into the shop and we can really start to get the sales from that point forward. Does that make sense? Okay, so it's it's not me, which is a small miracle. So I'm just gonna assume that made sense. Y'all can let me know in the comments if that made sense or not, and we'll rock and roll from there. Let me know that you guys can still see and hear me okay, and we can move on once you guys let me know that you can see and hear me. Get Duck says, Scott is just deep in thought. Yes, he tends to do that when I say something very profound. Does everything we've talked about make sense to everybody in the chat? I guess that would be question number one, right? Do you understand the new way that we're doing the product research? Does all of this really start to make sense to everybody? And while you guys are doing that, I'm going to pull this up on my side here just so that I have it pulled up as well. Bear with me a second here, guys. Getting everything pulled up over here. Craft Therapy says, yes. Fatty Pancake says, yes, you're still alive. This is what happens when we do it live. I'm going to see if he has any internet connection. He just said, hang tight. He'll be right back. So we'll just hang out with him. Does anybody have any questions while we're waiting on him to pop back in here? For doing well, maxing ads in Q4, should we keep them maxed going forward? In the Anatomy HQ, the answer to that is, it depends, right? So if we are doing well right now, that doesn't necessarily mean that our volume on ads is going to stay the same. Typically, you're going to run into one of two issues when you're running Etsy ads. You're either going to be spending your budget, at which point you have two different things that you can do. You can either increase that budget, or if you've maxed out that budget, then you need to prune. Before we ever increase budget, we should always be taking a look at what's working and making sure that our ads are optimized before we increase that budget. If you have your budget maxed out already, leave it there until you're not spending it. The beautiful thing about Etsy ads is it operates on a cost per click basis. So as long as people are clicking, then you're spending money. If they're not clicking, you're not spending money. So you don't have to worry about it. Looks like Scott is back. What happened, man? Did you just get tired? I said, does that make sense? And you just froze deep in thought.
Yeah, I needed some time to think about it. So I decided I would just, take a little break. No, my connection, my internet kind of went out, and I don't know if it has to do with the rain or not. So anyway, we are back. All right, we've got about 10 more minutes, Chris. I wanted to cover that last thing that we wanted to discuss. I love it. Get Duck says, this is the beginning of the overload takeover.
Yeah, this is actually the conspiracy. I've just been waiting almost 10 years to gently take over the YouTube channel by kicking you off a single live.
Yeah, you just cut my line. All right, cool. All right, let's do it here. All right. So what I wanted to discuss here is why I feel that 90% or more of print-on-demand Etsy sellers are going to fail in 2025. And I don't want to be the Debbie Downer here. I know a Debbie, by the way, so no hate on Debbie's out there. Love Debbie's. Actually, I was at her house the other night watching some football with my wife and her husband. But let's get to it here. All right. I don't want to be the one that says that most people are going to fail. But in reality, if we looked at the numbers, that's what's going to happen. And the reason is, and there's 5 things I want to cover here, that hopefully if you're watching this, you can listen and you can say to yourself, that makes sense. And I'm going to take a different approach, because it's all about perspective. It's all about the approach that you're going to take. And also, I'll be the first one to say right now, if you are thinking that you are going to start on Etsy today, and in 1 month, you're going to be making, I'd say even $500 a month, I'd say you should probably not try, because you're going to get disappointed, right? And you might say, well, Scott, like I'm hearing people say out there that I can get started and in 30 days, I can make $1,000. I can make $10,000. I'm here to tell you that that's not the norm, right? I can also go to the store right now and buy a lottery ticket, and there's a chance I might win. But how many people actually win? That's the question, right? How many people actually roll the dice or pull a ticket and scratch that thing off and go in and say, give me my $10,000, give me my $1,000,000? How many people? Not many. Okay. And so the same thing happens here. We have to take a different approach. The good news is that it is possible to build a business. The key word there is build a business, not just a Etsy shop that makes a few sales selling t-shirts and mugs. It's about building a business. And more importantly, it's building it in a niche. And that's what I want to cover here in these 5 steps. So first off, the number one thing I want to shed light on is, again, the bad advice that's being pushed out there. Okay. And I know it's to sell courses. I sell courses. Okay. We sell courses here. Chris Schaefer and we sell courses. Okay. But I would never tell you that you're going to start an Etsy shop selling print on demand and you're going to make $1,000 in a month or even in 2 months. Is it possible? Sure. But it's possible to scratch off a winning ticket too. Okay. It's not probably going to happen as quick as you want it to. Okay. I think you actually have a better chance of the Etsy thing than the lottery ticket, but that's another discussion. All right. So we have to make sure that we understand what the business model looks like. Okay. To be successful. And the first thing is the expectations of thinking you're going to go out there, launch a bunch of random products, and you're going to make $1,000 in your first month. Right. We just have to get rid of that. If you're hearing that, the 15,000 mug, you see the pictures, like, see the glass, you can sell these and get $15,000. We've all seen them. It's not reality. Okay. So we just need to get rid of that. Okay. And just say, we know that. Okay. That's not what we're doing here. The second thing is we have to have a business plan. All right. We want to have a business plan where we identify a niche that has demand. We have multiple products that we can sell to that one customer. We can create a bundle, because now Etsy's pushing bundles too. And we can have repeat customers, and we can have bigger orders than just that $7 candle or whatever. Okay. So we need to have that business plan. And I actually put together a business plan that we have followed for years, not just in the business that I'm running with my wife, but my other e-commerce business that we sold and other businesses in the past. All right. And if you want a copy of that, we call it the 100K business plan. If you want a copy of that, just put 100K in the comments and we'll send you a copy. All right. It's an overview of what it takes to build out a true business, a true brand. Okay. And using Etsy as the launch platform. Okay. So that's number 2, not having a business plan. All right. I'm going to give you a business plan that you can use. It's one that we used. Again, I'm not making any promises. I'm not saying just because you look at my guide that you're going to automatically be successful. You still have to put in the work, and you still have to pick the right products, and you still have to pick the right niche. There's a lot of variables. All right. The third thing is we don't want to play the volume low price game. We don't want to play that game. Okay. Homie, don't play that. Anybody remember that? Anybody in living color? Anybody? So, the volume game, you don't want to play that game. You just don't. Okay. And what you want to do, though, is you want to, again, going back to the business plan, you want to strategically have products that, yes, they might be a little bit of a lower ticket. You're still making some money on them. It brings people into the door, brings people in the shop. Once they get in the shop, they see you have other things that are also of interest to them because you brought them in on the one product that is in your niche. Okay. So that's the third thing, is the volume with low price game. If that's the game you're playing, not going to win. All right. I'm just going to blatantly tell you it's not going to win. And if it does, come back to me and tell me you did that. You played the volume low price game and you were so profitable and you did really, really great. And I'm wrong. Tell me. I would love to hear it. I would love to see that example. All right. So if you know someone, share it with me. Okay. The fourth thing is no brand. Okay. Making people come back because you are a brand that sells a certain product is so powerful. If you're in the baby niche and you sold something that was given as a gift at a baby shower And it was so cute. And they're like, where did you get that? And you're like, oh, it's on Etsy. There's a shop on there called Baby whatever, right? And they're like, oh, cool. It's on Etsy. Yeah. Can I write that down? Yeah, you can write it down. Like little stuff like that. And then you get someone that did buy there, and that person was so happy with the gift. They're like, I got to get all my baby gifts here. Right? So that's what we want to do. Build a brand that we're known to sell stuff to that niche. Okay. And then the fifth thing, and this is a big one too, because a lot of people that come into Etsy, and it's not their fault, is they come in and they don't understand marketing. They think that I'm just going to put up some products on Etsy. Etsy's going to do all of the heavy lifting for me. And they're going to basically, give me the traffic. They're going to give me the sales. And all I got to do is put up those products. Let me hold on a second. Let me just hold on 1 second here. All right, we're back. You see how that's done? All right, let me get back to my notes here, Chris. I'm almost done. So, Etsy's not just sitting there waiting for you to launch something so they can go ahead and say, yes, let's give you some traffic. Like, that's not how it works. You got to work at it a little bit, and you got to understand how marketing works. The one thing that a lot of people don't do is they're not spending money on their advertising. I don't mean a lot of money. I mean like a couple dollars on Etsy ads. Okay. And people are like, yeah, but I don't want to spend money yet. Not until I start making some money. How many times have you ever opened up, I don't know, a restaurant and didn't put any money into it? You just said, I'm going to go ahead and just, go over there and set up my little easy up, and I'm going to start selling some stuff. You'd still have to buy the pressure cooker that you're cooking this stuff in, maybe, right? You still got to buy stuff. But people think, I'm just going to set up my Etsy shop. Pretty much it's free. Pretty much. I mean, there's a little bit of a cost to it. And I'm just going to go ahead and launch some products, and Etsy's going to give me the traffic, and they're taking their fee, and they're just going to keep giving me traffic. Not the way it works. Okay. And it's getting harder because there's more people coming in. So if you have some sense of marketing, if you understand the basics of marketing, I don't mean you got to be a marketing expert or a genius. You just have to understand it, right? And part of understanding it is building a brand with multiple products that someone could buy together. Etsy rolled out another great little feature where you can bundle products together. So if someone comes in on a product, they go, oh, these two products are paired with this. Cool, right? That's marketing. Okay. Etsy ads, that's marketing. And you could argue and say SEO, search engine optimization, is marketing too. Yes, it is. You do need to understand it. You need to do it. But one part of the SEO thing that people don't understand is your title, your thumbnail, your description, your tags. That's all great. But what about the sale? Etsy cares about how well that listing is converting. That's one of the drivers. Big driver, by the way. All right. So knowing marketing is huge. And if you are going into this thing thinking you're just going to launch a bunch of products, you're going to let Etsy give you the traffic, you're probably going to fail. So I just want to throw that out there. All right. But again, if you want that little roadmap that we put together that shows you how to build a brand and what it takes to build a brand, just put 100K in the comments and we'll send you a copy of that little roadmap. All right. But that's what I would say if you are starting right now. And I know this seemed like a little bit of doom and gloom. The title, why 90% of print on demand Etsy sellers are going to fail in 2025, because that is the truth. I bet you it's even higher for like 99% of people that buy scratch offs are not going to win more than, $10. I would love to see that statistic, right? So think about that as you're going into this, or if you're getting started again, because maybe you started going down that one path and now you're like, you know what? I got to do this differently because it's not working, right? I got to do it the other way. And that's how I would do it if I was starting over today. All right, Chris, I think we got through that.
Just a little barking in the background, but
Yeah,
so Scott, I was not expecting In Living Color to come out of that. I see you as more of a Major Pain guy.
I like Homie the Clown. Just has his sock wadded up and he's like, oh, poof. Homie don't play that.
So here's a question. Did you ever play the Homie D Clown video game?
No, I did not.
I think you would enjoy that. I'm gonna have to see if I can find a simulator for it. I think it was a PC game, and it's just him walking around hitting people with a sock with a tennis ball in it. Which, nothing wrong, right?
I had a friend at an airport that used to come out with a brand new loaf of Wonder Bread and start beating on us.
Jimmy.
No, it was actually Greg.
Uh,
It was our other friend. He would come out with a brand new thing and just start, and he would beat that thing, and it wouldn't hurt or anything, but it was hysterical. And then I just always wondered, like, what did his parents think? That bag of bread is gone. The birds are eating it.
You just tried to find the worst bag of bread as possible.
Yeah.
MM92 Scott said, "Hey, I have a question. Is it better to spread Etsy ads over several listings that sell pretty well in order to widen the net, or focus all the ads budget on the top handful of highest selling listings?" So typically you're going to start with your best selling listings.
Yeah.
If you have some that are selling well and you have budget left over, then you can start to spread the love, if you will, right? You want to start with the thing that's going to give you the highest return on investment. If you're using all of that budget, then you can fall back to what we were talking about a few minutes ago, which is, can I increase the budget, or do I need to do some optimization? Is there a listing in this group of things that are my high selling listings that I need to increase conversion rate on? Or are there keywords that I can trim out? Let me know if that makes sense, MM92.
Yeah. And thanks for the little super chat there, MM92. That'll buy Chris and I a nice little cup of coffee. We appreciate it. And if you guys did want to support the channel, Everbee, check it out. We talked a lot about Everbee today. And if you go to Everbee, brandcreators.com/Everbee, they're not sponsoring this, by the way, although some could argue that, yes, if you go through our link, you buy us a cup of coffee, but they're not paying us to say that. I've been using Everbee just about from day one. I know Cody personally. The tool has evolved so much. And I'm a huge fan of it, and it's gotten even better, and it saves me even more time, which is always like, that's important, right? Like saving time. So if you want to give it a try, go to brandcreators.com/Everbee, sign up over there using our link, and you will, yes, buy us a cup of coffee, and we would appreciate that. So Chris, any other quick questions? I got to roll out of here. I've got a dentist appointment today.
Oh,
that I got to make. And the reason why I got to make it is because the last one I missed. I had the wrong day down, and they called me. They're like, "Hey, are you on your way?" And I'm like, "No, I'm actually not. I'm sitting here in my office." They're like, "That's not good." So I got to make this one.
I said, yes, I am in fact on my way. I'm stuck in traffic right now.
Yeah, I am buried in traffic.
Honk. Yeah, no. One more here, Scott. Lemon Juice said, "Is my cost per click high because my listing sucks?" No, your cost per click is high because there's demand. The question is not how high is the cost per click. The question should be, how high is the cost per sale, right? And are we profitable on that? If we're seeing a high cost per click, and I think the example they used was $1 per click, doesn't necessarily mean that it's not something that would be profitable and we should cut that out. If we're converting well, then that can be worthwhile. But your cost per click is not determined based on the listing itself. It's based on the demand for that specific keyword. And if you're seeing a 3 or 5% conversion rate, which is not uncommon at $1 a click, I'd probably be turning that keyword off unless I'm selling a $50 or $100 product, right? Because it means we're spending $15, $20 to get a sale from ads on that product. And I'm probably not going to end up making anything, but it depends on how much margin you have there. Cost per click is based on demand, not based on the listing itself.
Yep. And wanted to give another little shout out to MM92. Thanks. Love your weekly videos and advice. I've been on Etsy for 4 months now. And in the last 2 months, I started implementing your tips and doubled my sales.
It's awesome.
Let's hear it for MM92. Congrats. So that's awesome. All right, cool. So that is going to wrap it up, guys. I have to skedaddle. Is that something that people say still, Chris? Skedaddle out of here? Is that really like showing my age?
People have said that.
Just not in the last 25 years.
Yeah. Lady Oz says
skedaddle. Put that in the comments. I'd like to know.
I think it's bug out or jump. Jump is the one that I've started using.
No, I think the other one is I got to fly, but I got a jet. I got to fly. There's another one too that I've been hearing Scotty say, but I can't remember. He's always like keeping me up on that stuff.
Would you say Scotty is fly? Is that what you're...
Is he fly? I don't think that's in anymore. I don't think that's in.
Well, since we're quoting In Living Color, we might as well just stay with the 90s reference.
Yeah, you might as well. Chris has fuzz.
Yeah, Lady Oz has been gone so long that my hair grew back. Fatty Pancake says he's pretty fly for a white guy.
That's great. Yes, that's good. That's good. All right, guys, I got to run. I can't be late for this appointment. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Maybe our next live, Chris and I will be in the same house. Who knows? It might happen. So I got to run. Thank you guys. Have an awesome, amazing day. And all the links that we talked about will be in the description. So if you need those, go there. And yeah, just remember, guys, we're rooting for you. Take care. Take action. We'll talk to you soon.